Okay, in this unit, Unit 5, we're going to be looking at data, which could be numbers or opinions. In this particular lesson, we're going to look at how to choose a sample group, and there's different ways we can do this. When doing a survey, it's usually not practical to get the opinion of every member of a population. You can get a fairly accurate picture of the opinion of a population by surveying a sample or part of the population. Okay, a sample is a smaller group that hopefully represents the whole population. Okay, there are several ways to choose a sample. So a population could be, for example, like every single student at Clovis West. You want to know their opinion on something. For example, like the opinion on what they think of the rallies at school. And so the population would be all the students at Clovis West. Well, if you want to do a survey, well, I guess you could survey every single person in the school, but that's kind of cumbersome. So, but you can survey a sample or part of the population, and hopefully they represent the whole school's opinion about the rallies. There could be a bias. For example, let's say you just choose to survey English 9 class, just because it's convenient. And so, but they're all freshmen. And so you get the results of what they think of the rally, and well, their opinions probably differ a little from the sophomores, from the juniors, and from the seniors. So the results would be a little skewed. So that might not be good. Okay. Well, some different ways to choose a sample. One is a convenience sampling, choosing any people easily available, and that could be just like going into one classroom and surveying. Self-selection, having people volunteer to participate in the survey. Okay, and that could be maybe you set up a table, and those that want to pick up the survey and do the survey, they just come by and pick it up. Systematic, you order the population and then choose the participants at regular intervals, such as choosing every 5th person from the telephone book. Okay, that's systematic. And random, all members of the population have an equal chance of being asked to participate in the survey. For example, random could be like every single student at Clovis West was a population, so if you put all the names in a hat on a little piece of paper, mix it up, and then pull out whatever, 50 names. And so they all have at least have an equal chance of being asked. And then hopefully that's random. The way you choose a sample can introduce bias or a systematic error into the survey. Okay, when a survey is biased, the results are inaccurate. Okay, a problem. An athletic shoe company wants to learn which brand of athletic shoes is worn most often by local high school students. The company sets up a booth in a local mall and offers a coupon for a free pair of their athletic shoes to anyone who answers the question, what is your favorite brand of athletic shoes? What is the sampling method used? There may be more than one. I would say, since they just set up a booth, local mall, I'd say convenience type of sampling. And also self-selection, because it's up to the participants to just go up and then do the survey. Okay. Is there any bias in the company's sampling method? I would say there probably is. Let's say they're Nike, and they set up their booth, and they give out Nike shoes to those that answer the question, what is your favorite brand of athletic shoes? It's kind of steering them towards saying, oh, well, it's Nike. And, so I'd say yes, there's a little bias. So they're promoting their own shoes. Okay, their own shoes. So that report saying, hey, well, Nike is the most popular. I mean, it could be, but it's probably not as accurate as it could be. Okay, a politician wants to know what issues are most important to the voters in his district. Identify the sampling method and any bias in the method. The politician spends from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday talking to people as they enter a grocery store. I would say convenience. Okay, he's just probably standing there and as they enter the grocery store, so he doesn't have to go out and do this elaborate thing to get the survey or the sample. And I would say there is a bias. Well, first of all, he's surveying these people on a Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. He's missing out a lot of people that are working, and they have no chance of taking this survey. So you're leaving out the workers. The people that you may get are maybe the retired folks or an older generation that aren't working. Students are in school, so you wouldn't get their opinions. So you're leaving out a lot of people. So the bias, okay, maybe they're leaving out, or he is leaving out the working class or the workers that usually work during the day. So workers, he'll probably get, retired folks, okay, or those that don't work, stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads. Okay, 2, the politician sets up a questionnaire on his website. Okay, I would say who would take this as probably self-selection. Okay. And is there a bias? I would say there is. If the questionnaire is on his website, in order for them to fill out the questionnaire, they'd have to go onto his website or her website. And so who would usually go onto the person's website, the politician's website, is the people that probably support him or are interested in that politician. So I would say there is a bias because just the supporters are on his or her website, and they would just get their opinions. 3, Cindy listed everyone in each class and numbered them. Next, she randomly selected students from each class using some computer software. The selected students then represented the school. So I would say that's pretty random. Every single student has an equal chance of being picked. Random. And depending, as long as she picks enough students, the sample size is big enough. I know the school, let's say it's like Clovis West, 2,000 students. If she randomly picks 5 students, it could be completely random, but just 5 students for her sample, that's probably not big enough to be very strong of a conclusion. So, but I'd say there's no bias as long as she picks enough students, large enough sample. So I'd say no bias. Okay, 4, a math teacher wanted to select a sample of students based upon 2 periods of Math 3 classes. Instructor numbered each student starting with 1 to 70. The teacher then decided to take every 10th person. The teacher used a calculator to randomly select the value 45. At that point, the teacher counted down the list of students to the 10th person. That 10th person got added to the sample. So every 10th person got added to the sample, starting from the number 45. So I would say that's systematic. I'd say it's pretty random. So I'd say there's no bias. But I would say that it's not a very strong conclusion, because if every 10th person, but there's only 70 students, that's 7 students out of the 70, and I would want more than just 7 students out of the 70 to get their opinions. So, okay, on the side. Okay, you can use different types of study methods to gather information about a sample. So these four is how do we pick a sample group: convenient, self-selection, systematic, or random. Okay, but then there's different types of study methods to gather information about the sample. One's an observational study. Okay, you measure or observe members of a sample so that they are not affected by the study. So you try not to affect the results. So a person maybe who wants to observe this classroom maybe stands in the back of the room unnoticed and observes. Okay. A controlled experiment, you divide the sample into two groups. You give a treatment to one group but not to the other control group. Then you compare the results from the treated group and the control group. Okay, that's a controlled experiment. Or you can survey. You ask every member of the sample that you've chosen the same question. So most of these we're talking about maybe sampling or surveying. Okay, there we go in front. Okay, problem. A French teacher wants to know how well the students in each of her classes know the correct form of irregular French verbs. During one class period, she listens to her students as they make conversation in French. She keeps track of how many irregular verbs they use, correctly and incorrectly. What study method is described? I'd say observational. Should the sample statistics be used to make a general conclusion about the population? Well, her population are all her classes. I'm assuming she has 5 classes. She used one class, and I'd say she probably needs to observe more than one class. So I'd say no, I wouldn't trust, because classes are different from period to period. I have 3 Math 3 classes, and all 3 are different. So I'd say no, because there's only one class observed. Okay, at least 2 classes, maybe 3 out of her 5. Okay, identify the type of study method described in each situation. Explain whether the sample statistics should be used to make a general conclusion about everyone, the whole population. A pollster wants to know what percentage of U.S. senators would support a new law about speed limits. He selects 20 of the 100 senators at random and asks them whether they should support the law. Okay, well, of these 3, it's not observational, it's not controlled, it's a survey. He asks them the question, would they support the law? So survey. And I'd say if he picked them at random, and 20 out of the 100, I would say if he picked more, like 80 out of the 100, that'd be really accurate, but that might be a little tougher to do. I'd probably do more than 20, but I would say this is okay. It's random, but I would say more than 20 would be a little bit better. So I'll even make note of that. More than 20, okay, would be stronger. Okay. Okay, researchers want to test a new fertilizer for corn. They apply the fertilizer to one field of corn and give no fertilizer to the second field of corn. Both fields are the same size, have the same type of soil, and receive the same amount of water and sunlight. The researchers record the weight of the corn produced in each field. So that's a controlled experiment. Controlled experiment. Okay, and if it was truly controlled, they have the same soil, same water and sunlight, I would say I would use the results whether that fertilizer is working or not. So I'd say that's good. Okay, and that is 5-1.